Welcome back to Level Up. I'm your host Hakim, and this show where I bring always real talk and real stories. Today, guest is someone who truly embodies what it means to build for the future. She is a strategic business developer, market strategist, TEDx speaker, and founder of Future Makers,
Yes.
consultancy helping organizations scale purpose-driven growth why stay rooted to sustainability and innovation. Kristin Amadou, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm so happy to be here. And
I
yeah, this is pretty exciting. So good.
same here, same here. And it's early morning for you. I think it's like 8 or
No, no, no. Well, we did have a time change in the United States, a little bit
oh,
different than Europe. It's 10 in the morning.
it's
So
that's good. Yeah,
that's
yeah, that's okay. That's
yeah,
okay.
that's very okay. Yes,
Really nice.
absolutely.
I always ask a question out of the box, always
Yeah.
funny question, and I always think of my guest, experience and something that really represent them. So if you go to the future, 50 years,
Yes.
let's say 2050,
Yeah.
looking at your ambition and sustainability focus, what
Yes.
what would you love to see happening in 2050?
I would love to see that humanity got the message from planet Earth. And that it wasn't a debate anymore, but it was an actual way of living. So that we are actually taking care of ourselves in our ecosystems, that we're taking care of ourselves with our ideas of what is the great place to live, but what is the doable place to live, and how is it that we want to live. So, if we look at our species, we have a lot of work to do and really kind of changing and transforming who we are. And by the time we get to 2050, we won't have this luxury of choice, right? So we will be told by our planet how it is that we need to adapt. And it was Charles Darwin, right? And many years ago, where he said there is a survival of the fittest, and those who have that conscious behavior, the ability to change, and the ability to love. That's what I hope is on our planet in 2050.
Nice. What a way
Yeah,
to start. What a way
yeah,
to start.
yeah.
Already inspiring, and definitely I agree with all what you said. We're gonna definitely come back to sustainability in another
Right.
section, but let's go back to your journey. You have worked across strategic business development,
Yeah.
sustainability, and innovation companies, and eventually you founded your own Future Makers. What was
Yes.
the turning point that led you actually to start your own company?
Well, it was a turning point that I realized that I was a catalyst of change. And sometimes what is really important is to embrace the fact that you can be ahead of the wind. And so instead of being slowed down, I needed to speed up for me as an entrepreneur. I needed to be in that space that didn't exist yet. And in Dutch, they call it a kwartiermaker. And that is a quartermaster. And I'm very comfortable in that space. So, in order for me to be in that space, in order to offer the next step to organizations, I needed to create that Future Makers consultancy where I could be my true authentic self in a company that I co-created with people. I didn't just create it by myself. This is a bunch of ideas, heart, hands, and heads that contributed to this consultancy. So,
Really interesting. Really interesting. I, I
yes.
I look into your profile, of course, and it's amazing what you do. What really stood out to me always in what you do, how you actually translate this message to the companies, which is really interesting, and
Yes.
it requires lots of work and time. And I think most importantly, building like basic for the culture of companies. So I
Right.
want to briefly, if you can give us an example, how do you actually implement those in the companies you work with, those rooted, basics?
Well, it depends on the starting point of organizations. So, if you have a starting point of an organization, like for example, the whole movement in B corporations, and I'll give you one of the leading activists in those leading their organization for the force of good, and that's Patagonia. And many years ago, I've had the privilege to work with Ryan Gellert, the CEO, where he was actually really talking about they have a different standing point in an organization. And in his leadership style, they already knew that they had to change and transform their business when people were getting sick from formaldehyde, from using non-organic cotton, right? Boston
Mm.
shut down.
Wow.
Slowly, they realized that they had to innovate, but they were faster than other organizations. So when you use your business as a force for good, Tony Chocolonely, Doper, if you're looking at Patagonia, they already have their heart and purpose in it. I'm going to use my business to create positive impact. Oh,
Yeah,
and by the way, it's very cool and it's very okay to be a social enterprise. That means profitability, not
of
nonprofit.
of course.
So with those kinds of companies, what we have to do is we have to continue to create the safe place, the psychological safety for them to continue to innovate.
Yeah.
Now, if we look at a different starting point, which is old companies, companies that have to transform who they are from yesterday in order to be able to be future proof, that takes a different starting point. That takes the starting point of transformation of mindset
Yeah, yeah.
and leadership. And the leadership really needs to understand that it's not just governance that needs to change, but they need to possibly even cannibalize their own business.
Mm.
So they have to change from their old behaviors. They have to learn new behaviors. They have to have new direction, not only management, but new direction. What part of the wind am I going to blow into the future? What kind of sales do I need? Not just making a sale, but what kind of sales do I need in order to catch the wind into the future? And
Yeah.
some and that's hard. That is hard. And that's where I see the fundamental opportunity. And
That's
yeah,
very, very interesting. I love that actually, that it's a mindset because, of course, it's a mix of not only, just doing marketing or doing PR, because I feel, I don't know, I might be wrong, but I feel maybe nowadays there are just companies out there that just want to, tick the box like of sustainability,
yes, they
okay.
do.
But actually, the actual work, is it really a shift in the mindset, or the actual work, which is, of course, it's not easy, especially for
No,
companies that have been there for long, because of so many different facts. It's not only that you have to be looking into the plastic or the waste, or the it's a really, it's a full
yeah,
organization, full mindset, like you said. And I really agree with you that it's really comes from the leadership first with the mindset, and then it
yes,
goes all the way down. So, do you have any
yeah.
examples actually with a company that you kind of helped into implementing those mindset, or changing actually this in the real world?
Yeah,
Nice,
I do. One of my,
nice. I love that. This is what I want.
yeah, yeah. Um, so not many years ago, a few years ago, I was asked to really be a change maker, a future maker within an organization. And this is a very Dutch old company, 100 years old, very Christian based, understanding a family owned company that they really needed to transform their business. And one of the family members and one of the owners of the company, he needed a or a quartermaster to come in and really to work on transforming the thoughts and the ideas into action, right? So this is the hard part. So
Mm.
nice to think about it. Okay, how are we going to do it? And in that process, I actually had to really work with myself because I'm quite a vivacious person and I'm quite loud, or I don't know, I'm definitely present when I'm in the room. And so what I had to do was really work in stealth mode. And what does that mean? At one point in this process, I was transforming the ideas of what the C level and the management wanted for the transformation of their organization to embrace the energy transition. So from the old to the new. But what's really difficult was that I had to work in a quiet stealth mode. So I was at one point an underwater secret agent of change, working for the coalition of the willing and helping them to be more able.
Yeah.
And I had to do that also. I was the first female foreign senior woman within that organization. And I think that that helped. Because I didn't have to think within their box. I could think within the box of the change and that transformation. So in that stealth mode, we slowly came up with programs and opportunities to create that movement within that organization so that they could transform their business.
Interesting.
And that was difficult. So some of the directors at that point, they couldn't change their mindset, so that they had to leave.
Hmm.
So then you need a transformation within the leadership on the next level. So those that couldn't do it, they just couldn't fit in anymore, because you have to transform, you have to innovate, you have to be
Oh,
boots on
yeah.
the ground. And so that was probably one of the hardest jobs or projects that I've had, but it's the most heart-filled, because now they're flourishing in who they really need to be in order to leave the planet better than they originally found it. And that
That's
is and that gives me goosebumps. And I was so proud to be part of that team. And that, yeah, amazing. And I could take me into it, but I could they have the ball, and they've been rolling with it for several years, and they're creating a multitude of impact on multiple levels, and still creating business for their own future, and recruiting new talent to the energy transition with their heart. And that's great.
I can absolutely feel the impact,
Yeah,
because I feel it also from your energy, definitely, and the happiness of seeing the the reward
yeah,
after working hard, and of course shifting minds from companies that have been there for long into a new direction.
yeah,
That requires, as you said,
yeah,
sometimes you will have to leave. Yeah, it is. This is how we're going to. And if you want to
yeah,
really see the planet and really make an impact,
yeah,
there must be like some serious decisions to be happening, and most importantly
yeah.
is the mindset. Absolutely.
And you have to keep the business going.
Yes. Yeah.
So, right? So you can't just stop and start over.
Yeah.
You have to run those things parallel. And that goes like that.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
And
The
and
wheel.
I yeah. And sometimes you get a tsunami, but that's part of transformation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So embracing the chaos creates the change, and
No,
that's
I fully agree. And tsunami comes, when you don't expect it. I think if you look back at COVID 2020,
yeah,
and that was a big tsunami. Everything was working good. The
yeah,
travel was amazing. The business travel was hitting like crazy numbers all over the world. The rates were high. It's higher now, but I mean, the COVID came, and then yes, that had to change a lot of things. And of course, sustainability was already a hot topic before that, but it
yeah.
made actually a lot of companies really start to focus even more and even more. And yeah, we
Absolutely.
got it very quickly that yeah, some companies use it as a marketing. I still believe that we're not there yet. We're too far. There's so much still to be done. I think the benefit for the smaller companies or the new startups, I experienced working for both large organization and a startup,
Yeah.
really that they can really start from now and building for the future, versus the older
Yeah.
companies. It's, yeah, as you said, it takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of energy, efforts, but that's what needs to happen eventually. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and I think that's where the heart comes in too.
Yeah.
And this is where you have a different starting place. And a lot of times organizations talk about business, but one of my mottos and one of my bases is that business is formed by humans,
Yeah, yeah.
and we are a tribe. And in order to thrive in that tribe, we also must love. And when you can love to have money. I don't mind money, but you
No,
can
what?
also, yeah, you can also, yeah, that, but you can also love each other and just
Yes.
say, hey, look, I've got that empathy for you, and I know you're having a hard time in your conversations of transforming your team. How can I help you? And that human side of enterprise, that is the basis of to be sustainable.
Oh, I love that. It's
Yeah,
absolutely close to my heart, the human part, and it's the base,
yeah,
because absolutely this is how a company will overcome, that challenge of
yeah,
changing changing the current status, been there for years and years and years, but it
yeah,
all comes to the human part, and definitely
yeah,
loving
yeah,
the impact. Absolutely. Going more focus in building sustainability, because I know
yeah,
this is something that I want to take the advantage of having the podcast with you, because you're expert there, and of course I want to learn from you. Let's go deeper into that. And you worked with a lot of organizations, like really big multinational companies. And what I want to maybe touch base on, what is the biggest misconception about sustainability in business?
Well, what I'm seeing now in the market trends, and also this is based on the geopolitical situation within the world, right? So we've had transformations here in the United States where some of the politicians are talking about that there is no climate change. And then when the geopolitical shift came, diversity and inclusion also had an impact as well. So let's go back to what is sustainability, regardless of what people are saying and what the heartbeats of the market are. We're still needing to transform our business, right? And sustainability in the word itself is to sustain, right?
Yeah.
But humanity wants to thrive. So if you look at sustainability, the misconceptions of it is that it's separate from the strategy. It's a
Mm,
box that you check underneath, perhaps if you're doing your ESGs, your finance, your CSRD report. That's, a reporting. Let's just focus on our CO2 reduction. But they're not focusing on their social impact and try to
mm,
mitigate those risks that are coming in. It's all interwoven. So what people don't realize is that sustainability, if we take the word away and we blow it up, let's just get rid of the word. It's doing business. That's it.
yeah, yeah, it's true.
It's transforming our business. And instead of separating ourselves and putting ourselves in a box, we're saying, no, this is a holistic change that's going to improve our business. It's going to have impact on our supply chain. And not only that, it's going to adhere to the needs of the conscious consumer. And by the way, we're going to measure it and improve and innovate. It's just a roadmap for improving business.
Yeah,
And so, of course, we can have the born again value systems, right? The better than the other mindset. But if you take that out, you're just saying, hey, look, man, let's just do good business,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know? And so then you take out the us versus them. And I think that the misconception is that it's separate from the core business. And it's an integral part of what the business strategy needs to have, not just required by governments and regulations, but it's because it's going to help you improve your business. And that's the bottom line.
That is so true. That is so true. I love to
Yeah.
hear that. Like, in a company, in an organization, and for people maybe listening to that who's working in sustainability, I always
Yeah.
feel like also that now the responsibility in a company where they have a director of sustainability or a sustainability manager
Yes.
kind
Yeah.
of shift towards only the sustainability team,
Yeah.
which I think is not correct. Of course, they set the strategy, they set
Yeah.
the policy, they build the program, all that. But it's
Yeah.
everyone. It's literally everyone in any company is responsible of that. Not only in the company and
Yeah.
following the company, but also in their home, in their
Yeah.
personal life. Because if you're, working with a sustainability company and then you back home, doing the wrong other direction, then it's not
Yeah.
going to work. So, what would be your advice actually to somebody who's working in sustainability or not, and make sure actually they can create an impact?
I would say for those who are currently working within sustainability, keep going, be resilient, be strong, be a leader, and really have the guts to keep saying what you believe in. Use data, use impact, use measurements, not only to prove why it's improving the company, but also where you can challenge others to participate in their expertise so that you're asking for help. Just saying, hey, look, I've got this information. I'm part of the sustainability group, but I really need you in sales to help me think about the strategy of how is it that we're going to change, right? So at one point in this whole sustainability movement, I was talking to Heineken, and Heineken's 99 or 98% water, and they're producing their beer in Africa. So how is it that they're going to, there was a battle between these two departments. This is 20 years
Yeah,
ago or 15 years ago. And finally, you have to learn to collaborate. So when you look at the leaders of the sustainability team, first of all, there's a lot of juniors that have to fulfill filling boxes, collecting data. And so that does not have the skills and the requirements that it needs to create the change, right? So they have to develop. So it's really the leadership from the top that has to embrace and help develop the others to use their voice. And sometimes you need a fist on the table,
yeah, yeah, of course.
and that's it. So for those in sustainability, be resilient, be creative, but be embracing and ask for help. Because when you start to engage somebody in their expertise, then that's the pill and the peanut butter. And that means that it becomes part of the other person, and you're not convincing them that they have to feel better because of the pill and the peanut butter. They are the movement of change themselves. So the resistance isn't there. And this is really the human side, the social side of how to transform not only the leadership, but also the movement in
Yeah,
between on the multiple levels. And being in sustainability is lonely, but just realize that we need you. Yeah.
definitely, definitely. I love that. It's really very powerful, and also it triggered something as well that I experienced also working in the travel industry for the past 15 years. And of course, travel is one of the top. I'm not sure which third, the fourth, like most generated revenue in 2022 until now, something like that. I forgot the real data. But anyway, what I feel is missing in that industry is the social and human part, like collaborating
Yeah.
together. I think working in hotels, for
Yes.
example, I looked after the corporate segment in a lot of companies I worked for, and we always received the RFP. The company want to work with hotels,
Yeah.
so they would send them the request for proposal, and it always includes around, if I remember, 20 to 30 questions that is sustainability related. It's always about
Yeah.
consumption of energy in the hotel and waste and water, all of that, and it's only just to tick the box. Like
Yeah.
there has never been a follow up from any company, as far as I know, on these questions. It's just like, okay, it's there, it's an RFP, we're doing our job, tick the box, and that's it.
Yes.
But I felt like it's not really been taken seriously. It's just, again, like a marketing purposes, and it's something definitely the industry needs to, you know, shake and develop a little bit and talk together and collaborate together and
Yes.
make sure actually these numbers are being checked, these numbers are being reviewed,
Yeah.
are being
Yeah.
talked about together as a partner. So what you're saying is absolutely something that should happen, and I hope it happens. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think everybody's really doing it seriously for the purpose or the impact of that word, but
Yeah.
just yeah, we need to follow, the 2020 30 ambitions, and we all need to be part of that. And let's say we're doing this and doing that, but yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah. And where I think that this is where, within that sector, within the hospitality sector, if you say that they're missing the human side of this transformation that they need to have and just have the boxes ticked, their core business is a human. So if you look at hospitality, food and
Absolutely,
beverage, that is only focused on the experience of what a human wants to have their best experience. If you're
absolutely.
paying, for a hotel here in South Florida, you want that experience, right? You want that pool cleaned. You want to be able to have that beach cleaned. You want to be able to, order your drinks with an umbrella in it, and you want to be able to have that electric golf cart take you to your next bar. So there's different ways of doing those things, but the core business really is that human.
Yes,
And
of course.
where there's an opportunity, right? So you have a risk. If they don't change, slowly the regulations will start to choke them out, right? and
Yeah,
this is and that's what happens, right? They will get penalties, just like the CO2 reduction that they have to
yeah,
do. Yeah, I mean, we're going to be having carbon tax coming up. I mean, the Middle East is going to be a complete mess in trying to transform their business, and so we have to help them be able to do it. But if I'm here within, South Florida and Fort Lauderdale, they also need help. And these are high rises full of humans that want to
I
also
agree.
have conscious consumers want to have it clean too. And one of the things that could work, and an opportunity, is if we look at checking the boxes in a faster way. One of the programs that we designed previously in one of my experiences, it's called the Sustainable Road Forward. And this is what we did, where we brought companies together from the same sector and they shared best practices.
Nice.
And so it wasn't us facilitating them to, please choke on sustainability, eat it, eat it, eat it. No, it was a group of professionals saying, okay,
Brilliant.
how can we come together? Groups of, how can we come together and learn from each other best practices? And this is what B Corps do as well, to speed up and accelerate so we don't have to work that hard to clean up our supply
Mm.
chain and how we work, and also to be able to do it, which isn't greenwashing, but it's actual impact.
Yes, it's
So
all that.
so people can learn from each other, and this is the part of sustainability and the movement that we have to think and how to embrace from. And you can make money doing it as well.
Of course.
Um, and so you create these roundtables of best practices. Keep it to business. Keep it, so it doesn't get all wishy washy. But part of value systems in the beginning is important. What is your value and what do you want to get out of today? Is part of the opportunity of cleaning up the industry of hospitality, food and beverage, just by people getting together and sharing best practices and
Yes.
going back and doing it.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I love that, and definitely something for the industry to learn and to really start to practice in real life. Is coming together and share best practices. And I think also the bigger organizations can learn a lot from the smaller ones, because
Yeah,
they're still capable actually to kind of look into
yeah,
everything we do in terms of data, which is absolutely a really important factor into the sustainability and really understanding where you are, where you're going. You really need to look at the data. And of course,
yeah,
a lot of big organizations, let's be honest, they don't have this data. It's impossible. It's impossible for
yeah,
companies or of 100 years that they would know everything they did or everything is really involved. So there's really a lot to learn from the smaller organizations and SMEs, because they have a, a bigger picture and a real data of actually
Yeah,
what's going on, so really we can talk a lot about
yeah,
sustainability. We can have
yeah,
another podcast, just one episode for sustainability only, but I want to shift a little bit gears and go to future makers and scaling
yeah,
purpose. It's your company, and
yeah.
the name is itself is already like forward thinking and represent a lot. So just before I go further, what is the name coming from? What is the story?
Okay, so this is pretty cool. And this is where it's not about me. And in the sense of it's not just my company, it's actually a mindset. And it is, I do have ego, by the way. But at the same time, future makers came from the concept about creating a better future. So when we were working with the leadership ideas of our programs that we wanted to design, we really need to think, what is our core business? And Future Makers was sort of the birth child of this concept of we need leaders and people, all people, to become future makers. So it's a conscious decision to create a better future, and everybody can do it. Not just the leaders, but also the folks when you go at home and you do it as an individual. So that puts your recycling in the different boxes, right? So that you can actually recycle that. But you can also be a leader and transform your own entire business and strategy. So the consultancy started with understanding that we need to create that change, but we need to be inclusive. So that means that everybody can feel it. So you are a future maker. I am a future maker. You take your steps and movement in that. I take my steps and movement in that. And so what we do in the consultancy is we really take on, okay, what part of this story can I own and how can I apply that to my business strategy?
Interesting.
Another part of the future makers is it's strategic doing. It's not talking, it's strategic doing. Now, how can I take what I've learned into actionables? You need to create that roadmap, and that's what we do together is we create a roadmap of action plan, and that has to be in doable chunks, right? You can't start with only looking at your massive CO2 footprint. You have to start with, okay, how do I understand what CO2 footprint means? And
Mm,
how is it, can I get the best information in here to create the change? So I think the difference in, other consultancies is that sustainability consultancies, they go in and they try to, solve the problem. Future Makers Consultancy goes in and listens to the problems and facilitates the individuals in the organizations to solve it themselves.
oh, interesting, really interesting.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
uh, no,
Yeah.
I was sorry. What I wanted to, you kind of answered my second question a little bit, but I wanted to ask you actually, for you and your team, what do you actually do in real practice for your organization in terms of, okay, this is what we do, this is what we can help you with, and this is the impact. So
Yeah.
basically, what is the purpose of driven growth that you give to the company?
Well, what happens is that it starts with feeling the pain, right? So I go in and I listen, I understand, and then we really together co-create the doable chunks to be able to do that. Often in the past, I've used a diagnostic tool to be able to understand. So, how do you make it doable? How do you make it measurable? What is really going on? And I've used the B Corp certification process for that. And that's a free online sort of certification process. And it really tests what's going on in the organization itself. And now what we do is we take that and that gives us our storyline. And then they say, okay, what part do we want to focus on? And we focus together on that. How can I improve my score on diversity and inclusion within my organization in a sustainable way that
Mm,
creates the right measurements to be able to do that? So we break things down into chunks. And using the B Corps, and now it's called the assessment. It's oh, I'm the IBA, I think it's called. Anyway, we use that assessment to give the heartbeats and the diagnostic. And then we go into, okay, what are your needs? What is the size of your company? And then we look, what kind of ESGs do you need to do? And what kind of expertise do you need in-house to be able to start the reporting process? But we help facilitate the change that needs to happen within the human being that needs to execute it.
So
I'm
interesting.
not I'm not going to go in and measure somebody's CO2 footprint. They're going to do it, but we facilitate them to be able to find out which way they have to do it. Part of sustainability is that it's overwhelming, right?
Yes, yes,
Um, and it's going into places that haven't existed yet. So
correct.
future, so we have to be flexible. But I find in my practice that using those measurables, whether that's also engaging and having a group decide, okay, how does your company engage with the SDGs from the UN? What is your, what is your sustainability developmental goals? Do you help poverty? Do you help water? And even that conscious thinking helps you understand what your impact is and
Mm.
where you should grow further. So depending on what the company or the organization or the leadership team needs, it really depends. I use tools, different tools to be able to do the diagnostic. And then we go off, we make a map, we do doable chunks, they do the work, and it's measured.
I love this. I love this. I actually didn't know that. And what is really interesting that you actually kind of give them the most important part, the education, and you build the roadmap, but actually they will have the chance to do it. And that's absolutely impactful because they will learn. Like any company
Yeah,
by doing
yeah,
that will learn along
yeah,
the way. So it's
yeah.
really interesting. And do you stay like with them as a consultancy to advise them, or you follow up after, or how does it go? Like a life cycle of a client with you.
It starts with a cup of coffee. Yeah, it starts with a cup of coffee and really seeing who the person is on the other side of the table and what are the needs, and if it's a click, because if it's not a click, that like
Then
any relationship, forget about it.
yes, of course.
Forget about it. The thing, yeah, but you
I mean,
have
if
to.
the coffee supplier is not
Yeah,
sustainable,
exactly. Yeah, exactly. I was like, and yeah, I use real milk, by the way, and not oat milk. But anyway, yeah, whatever.
oh,
So
we cannot live sustainable anymore.
no, 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 no. I'm sorry. I'm not perfect in the sustainability things. It's real milk. No, but it starts with a cup of coffee and starting to build a relationship. And that is also part of business development, right?
Yes, yes,
And that business development is to help develop the business, but that's relationship based. And
absolutely.
so once you get to that, then you go to the next phase, and that is really understanding and feeling what the problem is, or where the transformation needs to happen. And I usually stay with them until we're done. But with sustainability, there is no done. You have to keep going, right? It's a
Yes,
movement,
yes,
and so it could be chunks and modules of process of change, and my job is also not to do everything myself. One thing that I've learned as a senior consultant is stop doing what you're not good at. So I make sure that I bring in a team that will help with the process of being able to execute what is needed and to accelerate the behavior, the transformation, and the impact that the company is making. So,
love what you said. Stop doing what you're not good at.
yeah,
Definitely. And as per
yeah.
help, as for
Well, if I have that extra shot in the cappuccino, then I think I'm a
then
superhero, and I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. No, no.
really interesting. Now, we can't talk about future without talking about technology. So it's definitely something that is happening. We're living
Yeah.
it. Innovation, AI. So my question to you is, how do you see the innovation and AI transforming purpose-driven business modules?
Well, it's funny you ask because yeah, it was last week I had a conversations with one of my favorite people in leading sustainability, and we talked about IA, and we talked about IA. Artificial intelligence, whatever. I'm so dyslexic. I'm lucky to be alive. Um, no, but you know, we talked about artificial intelligence and the impact on technology in sustainability. It's
Yeah,
really right now taking jobs away.
absolutely, absolutely. I
And
agree.
so, but it's also helping and speeding up the process of understanding the diagnostics, right? And how do you measure things? It helps the humans still be able to think. Sustainability is about driving good business, right? So if we take the word out, artificial intelligence is only going to help us answer the questions of things that we haven't known yet. It is taking away very good jobs, especially on the junior consultancy level. But still, at the same time, it is us as humans that need to really work with the artificial intelligence and scope it, use it, frame it,
Of course.
but be the owner. It's going to help us accelerate stuff that we didn't know how to do. The challenge is, like in any way that we use artificial intelligence, we have to keep it real.
Yeah, 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 definitely. Especially thinking of the amount of data that you will need to use,
Yes.
into making reports, and absolutely AI would save lots of time if you really
Right.
utilize it in the right direction, and using the right tools. It
Yeah.
will save lots of work. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do use it. It saves me a lot of time. So, but I never let it think for me.
Yes, yes. That's the tricky part, because
Yeah.
nowadays people are like, if you want to just get an advice to whatever, like going out, with my friends, what can I say to them, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
the
It,
human
but
part is too important.
yeah, and the human needs to make sure that they manage the tool that they've self-created.
Yeah,
So, and it's not bad, in my opinion and my experience, to use it because of my dyslexia. My brain can work in multiple different ways that other brains don't work, but it takes away the anxiety of me sending that send button, knowing that my email doesn't have some kind of crazy mistakes that I can't see because of they call it a disability now. I think it's a blessing. Um, Basically, so it helps me and speeds me things up for those purposes. Um, and at the end of the day, when it comes to collecting data, it's going to accelerate because of the mathematics, the analytics, and how it is that it works much faster than the human brain. Um,
yes,
yeah. So
definitely. No, I fully agree with you, and it's the way to go. You cannot, ignore it. You cannot live without it. I think it's really important, especially
yeah,
for all the bigger corporation, or even the smallest, to kind of help shrinking the time, because
yeah.
it's amazing use to use. And I had to pick on this, so I want to move a little bit. We're almost in the end of the podcast. Time goes really quickly, always.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
Conversations always, but I cannot miss the leadership, especially with you, and the purpose and the personal growth. You had such
yeah.
a diverse and really purpose-filled career. What's one personal principle or mindset that really guided you all the way?
My grandfather.
Wow, I'd love to hear about that.
I would say that my grandpa was one of the leading activists in creating change in the United States. And we have levels of activism in our family. My auntie, she's an activist and she's a specialist in autism. My mother is a lawyer and she helps really, heart-filled people that are challenging with drug addiction and so on and so forth. My brother, when we were in Oregon back in the day, he worked for Greenpeace, and I worked with an organization called Osberg, which is, really about creating sustainability. Now, when we look at who we are as humans, sometimes you have this gut feeling of where you come from. My grandpa was an Irish immigrant coming in off his family off the boat to the United States for a better life. And his mother passed away because she was scrubbing the floors in a department store in that time, and she got influenza and she died. And there was no way for his mother or his family to be protected because there was no money, there was no union, and he created the union in Boston. And by the time the year I was born, he had also worked with bringing diversity and inclusion into public housing in Boston, but he has also marched with Martin Luther King. There were times, so he was one of these persons of influence, but he was still my grandpa. And so he has helped me understand who I am in this story. And it's not just about lessons learned over a cup of tea. It's about understanding the history of where you come from. So he's helped me with my resilience, my empathy. He's helped me discover my truth of understanding what my value system is. And I do not like injustice. And now I'm able to do that, and not in an aggressive way of saying this is unjust. No, I'm able to transform that into my activism is to be active. And I create that flow, and I take my grandpa with me on every journey that I'm on. So he has been my influence, and my auntie and my mother as well. And that has helped me do things that other people have not been able to achieve.
Really, really inspiring, and
Yeah.
definitely something that I was already having goosebumps. So really, really thank you for sharing that. And of course, we can learn a lot. I also, I think until now, I remember words from, parents, my grandparents, that when you think about it today, it's really have so much value, so much
Yeah.
learning. For example, we always have this like saying, the healthy mind lives in the healthy body, and it
Yes.
means so much. We used to hear this since we were young kids. Like all of these kind of things coming from our grandparents, is
Yeah.
really what we need to go back to. Definitely.
Definitely, right. And, so I get a little bit of heartbeats now being back in my own country for a while, spending time with my
Right.
family, and, and understanding, rediscovering my own culture as well. After all, I've lived in the Netherlands for the last 30 years. And so that rediscovery also, I'm now at my cousin's house, and I'm sitting now, and in Dutch, they say toeval bestaat niet. That means that there is no coincidence. I'm now in the room that my auntie had built for my grandfather when he retired so he could live near the beach.
What? Oh my God. It's meant to
Yeah,
it's meant to be. And you have a
yeah,
surfboard, so you,
yeah.
you gotta
That's
try it. You gotta try
that.
it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, those are my cousin's kids. That's I consider them nephews. So these guys are actually, they're riding the wave of the future. So they're going to be around in 2050, not me. And they're the ones who are going to have to surf the tsunami. And at the end of the day, just as much as we want to make sure that they're okay, we also have to remember the previous generations, what
Yes.
they've given to us, and what we give to our kids, and to my boys, and to my cousin's boys, and that's the love that we give, and it's not just business. It's business helps pay the bills, but it's also about passion, and letting them also be proud of the things that we can do while we're still around, so that they can take the torch or the surfboard to the next wave.
Absolutely, and cannot agree enough with you. You know, business pay the bills, absolutely, but any business also started from a passion, you know, or a love or a
Yeah,
vibration. So it's kind of, you know, a circle. It goes only in
yeah.
one direction. It has to be going and coming back again. So really, really interesting. My last question. This is the famous question of the podcast. What
Okay,
do-
okay.
what does level up means to you?
Level up means
Yeah,
becoming, yeah, level up means taking it to the next level. And that means also accountability. That means being transparent. That means leveling up means that transparency means honesty. Leveling up means being also honest when you've done something wrong.
yeah.
And yeah, so I'm going to level up now, right?
Nice.
And so when we think about leveling up, it matches very well with future makers, because you can't be a future maker unless you can level up.
Correct.
And
Correct.
so that's what level up means to me. And I think that it's very important that you are out there asking people their stories and how they have leveled up, and how they want to continuing leveling up. So that's,
That's my level up. That's my level up.
yeah,
Absolutely. Just learning, you know, from like market leaders like yourself, and just bringing this message out there, because again, like what you said earlier, it's all about the human, you know, part, the
yeah,
human
the,
feeling.
absolutely.
That, yeah, exactly. I love the conversation. Thank you so much for your time
You're
and the
welcome.
exchange. I'm going to share your details in the podcast so people can reach out to you, of course. And really thank you for the nice talk, and I wish you all the best. And we definitely stay in touch. But
Yes.
it was really good to have.
Coffee.
Yeah,
Yeah.
coffee. When you're back,
Coffee.
yeah,
Yeah,
when you're back,
definitely.
definitely we should have a coffee. And wish you all the best. And definitely try those serving board if you have time. Definitely
I,
try.
I don't mind laying down on it, but I'm not going to level up getting on. No, 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 no,
Well,
no.
thank you so much.
Okay. Thank
Appreciate it.
you very
Have a good
much.
day. Have a good day.
Okay. Thank you.